After being reborn, my entire family can hear my inner voice. Should I tell Dad? The adopted son he protects with all his heart is actually Mom's secret love child. I see Dad's hand suddenly tremble as he holds that love child's hand. Maybe I shouldn't tell my second sister either. Mom deliberately raised her to be completely useless. I see my second sister deeply focused on her game, but her phone suddenly seems to turn scalding hot in her hands. If my eldest sister knew that her legs were paralyzed because Mom hired someone to run her over, would she be devastated? I see my eldest sister sitting in her wheelchair, looking so furious that she's practically fuming. It's such a dilemma. What if they find out everything Mom did was just to hand it all over to her childhood sweetheart? I notice the look in everyone's eyes when they look at Mom has completely changed. In my past life, I only had a brief argument with that adopted son. Mom ruthlessly pushed me out of a window from around the 13th floor. After I died, my soul didn't vanish right away. Instead, I became a lingering spirit, constantly tethered to Mom's side. That's how I learned all her dark secrets. She only married my dad to climb the social ladder. In reality, she already had another man in her heart. She even bore that man a son, none other than Tongkan Nian. Ever since marrying Dad, Mom has been plotting and scheming, trying to figure out how to steal his entire family fortune for herself. After that, she planned to build a lavish, happy life with her beloved man and her precious son. But she never expected that I would be reborn, returning to the very day she brought Tong Kan Yen home to adopt him. Kan Yen, hurry up and say hello to your father. Mom pulled Tong Kan Yen in front of Dad, urgently prompting him. Tong Kan Yen didn't dare look anyone in the eye, his gaze like that of a startled little deer. His sleeve accidentally slipped back, revealing bruises from being beaten. It was precisely this harmless, long-suffering look that instantly triggered my dad's deep sympathy, leading him to treat the boy like his own flesh and blood, even better than he treated me. Worried the boy might feel left out, Dad proactively reached out to hold Tong Kan Yen's hand. What should I do? Should I tell Dad? Tong Kan Yen is actually Mom's secret son. I see Dad's hand, which is holding Tong Kan Yen's, suddenly tremble. He looks around nervously before his eyes finally land on me. I blink at him, wearing a completely innocent expression. Dad frowns, thinking he must be hearing things. Next, Tong Kan Yen will lean against Dad's shoulder, crying tears of grievance to gain Dad's sympathy. The next second, I watch as Tong Kan Yen throws himself into Dad's arms, sobbing hysterically. In my past life, Dad was deeply moved and gently comforted him. But right now, he can't squeeze out a single tear. His eyes are locked onto me. Luke Hoai, are you speaking? No, I'm not. I deny. Immediately after, my inner thoughts voice out again. I can't let Dad find out I've been reborn. He would definitely think I'm a monster. Dad's eyes widen as big as saucers, his face a picture of absolute disbelief. Just then, my mother stepped forward, putting on a sweet face to comfort Kan Yen. Kan Yen, don't cry anymore. From now on, this is your home. She turned her head and said to me, Luke Hoai, go show Kan Yen to his room. I quickly agreed, but deep down, I knew what was coming next. Any second now, Tong Kan Yen would throw himself down the stairs and blame me for pushing him. Sure enough, when we were only halfway up, he suddenly tumbled down the stairs. My mother immediately rushed over to hug him, asking in a panic, are you okay? Please don't blame brother Luke Hoai. It was my fault. I just slipped and fell down the stairs. Kan Yen said, groaning in pain. My mother's face hardened as she snapped at me. Kan Yen is your brother now. How could you treat him like this? Have we spoiled you? Too much? How could you do something so awful? My father walked over. Unlike my mother, he seemed completely calm. Seeing my father, Tong Kan Yen quickly chimed in. Dad, please don't be mad at Luke Hoai. I understand. He's just not used to having me around yet. He was an only child for so long, so I completely understand how he feels. In my past life, this exact act successfully made my father prejudiced against me, believing I was heartless and lacked any compassion. From then on, Tong Kan Yen only got bolder in framing me, driving a deeper wedge of disappointment between my father and me. Eventually, my parents showered all their love, and this time I thought to myself, well, I'm done for. It's over. I'm about to get punished by my parents again. No matter what I say, they won't believe me anyway. It's probably best if I just keep my mouth shut. I saw my father looking at me with a touch of guilt and sadness in his eyes. In the next moment, my father swung his hand and delivered a sharp slap across Tong Kan Yen's face. The slap left him completely stunned. My mother was also frozen in shock, completely unable to react. My father roared in anger. I saw everything clearly. You threw yourself down. How dare you frame Luke Hoai? No wonder your previous adoptive family returned you. Truly, a pitiful person always has a despicable side. Adopting Tong Kan Yen was, Of course, she said she saw a very pitiful boy while doing charity work at the orphanage, who had been adopted before but was abused by that family. She couldn't bear to leave him there and wanted to bring him home, arguing that since I was an only child, bringing him in would give me some company. My father couldn't resist her pleading, so he finally agreed. My mother and Tong Kanyen had planned everything so carefully, but they never expected to get exposed on the very first day. Clearly, my mother had deliberately blocked my father's view just now. She was terrified that he would see what was actually happening. My dad's harsh tone completely rattled Tong Kanyen, leaving him with no choice but to look to my mother for help. She quickly stepped in, explaining, he lacks a sense of security, so maybe he's just imagining things. It's all just a misunderstanding. Look at you, making such a big deal out of this. Don't scare the... Just as my dad was about to expose her scheme, he suddenly heard my inner thoughts again. If we expose Mom right now and she denies it, we'll only end up tipping her off. Besides, Mom still holds a massive share of the My dad was stunned. Not to mention, both of my older sisters would definitely side with Mom. She has always played the gentle mother while Dad played the strict parent. If things blow up, my sisters might even turn against Dad to help her. My dad fell silent. He must have realized my concerns were completely valid. Forcing down his rising anger, he looked at my mother and Tong Kanyen and said, "Something like this. I never want to see it happen again." Tong Kanyen nodded obediently, still playing his usual role of the Uncle Neo. Take him back to his room. My dad ordered the butler coldly. Uncle Ngo quickly hurried Tong Kanyen upstairs. My mother wanted to explain further to appease my dad, hoping she could convince him to accept and grow fond of Tong Kanyen. But this time, my dad grabbed my hand and walked right past her without even looking back. My mother stood there, utterly bewildered. She stared at his retreating back. Usually, all she had to do was sweet-talk him and he'd be smiling in no time. Why was he suddenly giving her the cold shoulder like this? I glanced back at her and couldn't help but let out a cold smirk. She has no idea that her good days are officially over. My dad led me back to my room. He looked down at me with a serious expression. "Luke Hoai, tell me the truth. Do you know something about your mother?" I put on a perfectly innocent face and quickly shook my head. "I don't know anything, Dad." But deep down, my inner voice cried out, "I can't tell you, Dad. If I do, you'll be devastated. In my past life, when I caught Mom with another man and told you, you accused me of being a young liar. You said I had no compassion, and that I was just making up stories out of jealousy because Mom favored Kanyen. I was so terrified that you would stop loving me." Looking up, I saw my dad. His eyes immediately welled with tears, overflowing with heartbreak and intense guilt. Choking back tears, he said, "Luke Hoai, you are my son, and you are the person I love and respect the most, Dad." Deeply moved, I stepped forward and wrapped my arms tightly around him. My dad didn't press me any further. But after that day, I could clearly feel him freezing out both my mother and Tong Kanyen. Every time Tong Kanyen tried to kiss up to him, my dad completely ignored him. Even when my mother tried to fawn over him, he remained completely cold and distant. My dad, who rarely used to go to the office, started spending almost all his time at the company. I could see that both my mother and Tong Kanyen were After dinner, they slipped away into a private corner to whisper to each other. Song Jingnian said, "Mom, didn't you say that man was really easy to please? But no matter what I do, he treats me so coldly. Why on earth is that?" My mother said she didn't know what was going on either. It's like he's a completely different person. Maybe he's just going through male menopause. His mood swings are all over the place. Just ignore him for now. Tomorrow, your second sister is coming home for winter break. She's completely brainless. Just focus on getting on her good side first. Song Jingnian promised his mother that he would soon take Lu. Once you become the family's favorite, taking over their fortune in the future will be a piece of cake. When that time comes, we can bring your father over to enjoy a life of luxury. My mother instructed him. "Don't worry, Mom. Lu Huai is just a useless... How could he possibly be a match for me? I'll quickly win over everyone in this family." Song Jingnian was brimming with confidence. Under my mother's brainwashing, not only did I fail to guard against Song Jingnian, but I even treated him like my own brother. Yet, he constantly plotted against me, making the whole family believe I was petty. In the end, they only cared about him. But in this life, he won't be that lucky anymore. Around noon the next day, my second sister, Lu Mengjiao, came home. She was a heavy girl, weighing 100 kilograms. She never exercised and only loved eating junk food. She didn't care about her studies at all, spending all day playing video games. Even the university she was attending was bought with money. In the eyes of outsiders, my second sister was a total good-for-nothing. My father never expected my second sister to turn out this way. Back then, he had poured too much of his time and energy into educating my eldest sister, Lu Wanqing. So my second sister's upbringing was mostly left to my mother. My mother always told her that since our eldest sister was already carrying the family's weight, she only needed to be a carefree, wealthy young lady. Gradually, my second sister completely lost all ambition, doing nothing but eating, lazing around, and waiting to die. When my second sister arrived, Song Jingnian, he leaned in close to her ear. I heard from Mom that your absolute favorites are potato chips, fried chicken, spicy chicken feet, and instant noodles. I've already bought them. I also bought that soda you love to drink. Just don't let Dad find out. I saw a flash of surprise in my sister's eyes. My father never allowed things like this in the house. Every time she came home, he would even check her luggage, giving her absolutely no chance to eat that kind of food. In the past, my mother was always the one who bought them for her in secret. Now, Song Jingnian had taken over that role. I could clearly sense that, in an instant, my second sister had developed a huge liking for Song Jingnian. That was, until she heard my inner thoughts. Watching my second sister and Song Jingnian getting so close, I curled my lips. I thought to myself, my second sister is already this heavy, yet she still wants to eat that junk food. She really wants to become a fat for the rest of her life? I looked at my older sister's smug smile. Suddenly, she froze. She turned her head to stare at me, her eyes wide with shock. Even a 3-year-old knows that eating too much junk food is bad for you. She had never once wondered why Mom and Tong Kanyan kept forcing her to eat those things. What on earth are you talking about? My sister asked me angrily. I didn't say anything, I replied, looking completely innocent. My sister was also a bit startled because she indeed hadn't seen me open my mouth. Yet the very next second, she heard my voice again. Maybe I shouldn't tell her. She's being deliberately raised by Mom to become completely useless. My sister's gaze grew even more shocked as she looked at me. I continued to think to myself, but she really will get esophageal cancer from eating all that junk food. And by the time she dies, she'll be nothing but skin and bones. My sister's eyes widened in utter disbelief. I just turned around and walked away. As I walked, I thought, just let her stay close to Mom and Tong Kanyan. After all, ever since Tong Kanyan showed up, she hasn't. Luke Hoai. My sister called me back. I turned my head. What is it, sis? She hesitated for a moment. Perhaps, for a split second, she wondered if she was hallucinating. She said, I brought a gift for you. Before Tong Kanyan came to our house, I was the one pampered by the whole family. Everyone in the house doted on me, and even my headstrong sister was no exception. I slowly walked over, and my sister handed me a pair of limited edition sneakers. Do you like them? Yes. I nodded, but without much enthusiasm. In my heart, I mumbled, you're being so nice to me now. But soon, you'll only be nice to Tong Kanyan. Even these shoes will be stolen by Tong Kanyan. How could that be? I bought these for you. My sister had barely opened her mouth when Tong Kanyan suddenly cut in. Wow, that's so cool. In all my life, any sneakers this beautiful. It's like a dream. My sister looked at Tong Kanyan with a hint of annoyance. Tong Kanyan, with a look of pure admiration. Sister is so good to you. If only I had a cool pair of shoes like this to wear when playing basketball, I would definitely be the happiest boy in the world. In my past life, Tong Kanyan used this exact same innocent and pitiful act to win over my sister. Back then, she to let Tong Kanyan have the sneakers, saying she would buy me another pair later to make up for it. But in reality, after I gave them to Tong Kanyan, she never bought me another pair. All her doting affection for me was completely snatched away by Tong Kanyan. I didn't wait for my sister to speak, but instead, I then handed the shoes to Tong Kanyan. If you like them, just take them, I thought to myself. After all, even if I didn't give them to him, my sister would still advise me to let him have them. I didn't want to make things difficult for her. Tong Kanyan's face lit up with joy. Really? Thank you, brother. Right at that moment, I remembered he would intentionally dirty the shoes, and then blame it on me. Just like in my past life, I placed the shoebox in his hands. As soon as I let go, the box fell straight to the ground. The shoes inside rolled out and landed right in the mud puddle nearby. At that very moment, Tong Kanyan let out a miserable, dramatic, "These shoes are so beautiful. How did they get so dirty? These are the shoes I've dreamed of since I was a kid." Looking aggrieved, he questioned me, "Brother, even if you didn't want to give them to me, you shouldn't have deliberately thrown them to the ground." Having said that, he quickly turned to my sister. "Sister, please don't blame him. I'm sure he didn't mean to." "Why should I blame Luke Hoai?" my sister asked. I found it quite baffling. Her gaze as she looked at Tong Kanyan was filled with absolute disgust. Tong Kan Nian was a bit flustered and completely bewildered. He had calculated that my sister would reprimand me at this point, calling me narrow-minded. But he never expected her to shoot back with a question like that, leaving him completely speechless and unable to use his rehearsed lines. It's your fault for failing to catch the shoes. If anyone is to blame, it should to be you. Why on earth should I blame Lu Koai? When he handed them to me, he purposely threw them down. Tong Kan, Nian mumbled defensively. I quickly acted, magnanimous. It's fine. I won't hold it against him. Hold it against him? What right do you have to hold anything against him? After messing up, not only do you refuse to, you also try to drive a wedge between us. What on earth are you plotting, my sister? Roared furiously. Tong Kan Nian was completely stunned by her. My sister yelled until her face turned beet red. Who gave you permission to come to my house? Huh? Get out right now. Go back to wherever the hell you came from. This house doesn't welcome you. With that, my sister reached out, trying to drag Tong Kan Nian away. Tong Kan Nian was so terrified that he shrieked in panic. My mother had originally wanted to give them some space so Tong Kan Nian could try to win over my sister, which is why she had purposely stayed out of the room. My father had also left for the office and wasn't back yet. Just then, my mother heard the commotion and quickly rushed out. What's going on? Luke Mong, how could you treat your younger brother like that? My mother scolded, her voice stern. My sister screamed back at her. He is not my brother. Luke Hoai is my only brother. As for this trash you brought home, take him away. Right now. What kind of crazy nonsense are you talking about? Since he is in our house, he is a member of this family. You are already this old, yet you still don't understand things? My mother grumbled. They pulled Tong Kan Nian close to her side. Your brother went through all that trouble to prepare snacks for you, risking getting caught by your father just to buy them for you. And yet, you are so ungrateful. As my mother took bag of snacks, I could see my sister was choked up with rage. She wanted to yell back and argue with our mother. But at that very moment, she suddenly heard my inner thoughts. Don't say anything more, sis. Fighting with her won't do any good anyway. After all, arguing is useless right now. She brought Tong Kan Nian back here just to steal our family fortune. Right now, sis should focus on bettering herself and working hard, so that in the end, she will catch our mother completely off guard. My sister froze. The words she was about to say were swallowed right back down. She simply threw out one last line. Anyway, my only brother is Lu Koai. With that, my sister dragged me away, leaving our mother and Tong Kan Nian staring at each other in utter confusion. They couldn't understand what had just happened. Forever. Why did our entire family suddenly become so smart all of a sudden? Why couldn't they trick us anymore? Back in my sister's room, she was so angry that she took all the snacks Song Jingnian had prepared and threw them all away. As if suddenly, remembering something, she also uninstalled all the games on her phone. After doing all of that, she suddenly looked at me and asked seriously, Lu Huai, did I disappoint you a lot before? I quickly shook my head. To encourage her, no, not at all. I know you're the best sister. Meanwhile, my inner thoughts did to add, my sister was just tricked by mom. I know she's actually super smart, and she'll definitely become someone amazing in the future. My sister smiled, looking a bit touched. She said, Lu, Huai, I will definitely work my hardest from now on. I'll become an outstanding person, and I'll make sure no one ever bullies you again, okay? Do you believe me? I nodded vigorously. The first thing my sister did after getting home was go to the hospital for a full checkup. Then, she hired a personal trainer and made a weight loss plan. Besides losing weight, she also picked up her books again, hired tutors, and started studying from the elementary level. Her entire winter break was spent studying and losing weight, leaving my mom and Song Jingyan completely dumbfounded. They obviously hadn't done anything yet. Why, ever since Song Jingnian arrived at this house, had my dad and sister both changed? My dad, who used to never go to the office and left everything there for my mom to handle, had suddenly returned. My mom was just one tiny step away from winning over everyone in the company and gaining full, actual control. But as a result, the moment my dad showed up, those hesitant shareholders and high-level executives stopped giving her any respect. She was so furious she practically coughed up blood. And then I heard her secretly talking on the phone with Tong Kan Yen. This time, There was clearly an extra touch of resentment toward Tong Kan Yen. What on earth is wrong with you? Didn't I tell you to come back here and win over this family? Why did you end up making such a complete mess of it instead? This whole thing is straying further and further from my plan. At this rate, how am I supposed to bring your father here to enjoy a good life? My mother's voice was full of blame. I don't, either. I followed everything you taught me, but they just didn't believe me, Tong Kan Yen replied. So aggrieved she was on the verge of tears. My mother didn't know where things had gone wrong either. Feeling a bit irritable, she decided right then and there to make one last desperate gamble. Your eldest sister is coming home for the New Year soon. She is the one who trusts me the most. You must make her feel incredibly grateful to you. Forget about everything. They're all useless anyway and won't amount to anything. Your eldest sister is the sole heir to this household. Yes, this time I will definitely put on an amazing performance. I'll make sure eldest sister likes me, Tong Kan Yen promised, though perhaps with a hint of reluctance. She always felt like she was better than me in every single way. She was better at reading people, better at showing off. So how did she possibly fail to win over in the entire family? In our past life, when my mother threw me off the rooftop, she had stood there gloatingly mocking me, saying she only needed to lift a single finger to make me lose absolutely everything. That year, after I allegedly accidentally fell off the roof and died on the spot, my father and my two older sisters were actually devastated. But before long, they were completely swayed by Tong Kan Yen's sweet, deceptive words. And shortly after that, all of them were utterly wiped out by my mother and Tong Kan Yen. Thinking back to everything from my past life, I gritted my teeth. This time, it was time for my mother and Tong Kan Yen is finally getting his karma. 1 week before Lunar New Year, my eldest sister, Lu Van Thon, returned from abroad after recovering from her injuries. 6 months ago, my sister's car suddenly lost its brakes, causing a highly severe traffic accident. My dad were traveling abroad, while my second sister was at home playing video games. It was my mother who was the first to rush over to save my eldest sister. I heard that it was pouring rain at the time. With landslides blocking the roads, the ambulance couldn't reach the crash site immediately. It was my mother who carried my sister on her back for several kilometers before finally getting her into an ambulance. The entire process was even photographed by passers-by. Everyone praised the greatness of maternal love. Our entire family also showered our mother with even deeper affection. But the truth is, that accident was actually set up by my mother, who hired someone to tamper with the car. Because my eldest sister was the heir to the family, my mother wanted her gone for good. If my eldest sister died and my second sister is completely useless, then I would be the only one left. In my mother's eyes, I was easy to handle. All she had to do was have Tong Kan Yen marry into our family to take over my position. That way, the family fortune would naturally and legitimately fall right into the pockets of those two, mother and son. But to her surprise, after the accident, my sister didn't die on the spot. My mother had absolutely no intention of saving her. But since she was being photographed by passers-by, she had no choice but to play along with this heartbreaking act. My eldest sister was rushed to the hospital, and although she survived, her legs were left paralyzed. Our mother suggested she go abroad or to continue her treatment, claiming that advanced medical equipment overseas would help my sister recover much faster. She even proactively helped her get in touch with the best private hospital. The outcome was predictable. 6 months have passed, and my eldest sister's legs haven't shown any sign of improvement. Quite the actor. Big sister, you're finally back. I've missed you so much. Tong Kan Yen ran up to my oldest sister, beaming like a social butterfly. He said he had always heard Mom talk about her, how mature, composed, beautiful, and elegant she is. Times doesn't compare to seeing you in person. You are much younger and prettier than I imagined. Because of her disabled legs, my oldest sister had become very insecure, even somewhat reclusive. There was a time when my dad and I would often fly abroad to visit her, only to be chased out by her. She didn't want to see anyone. The only person she'd see was my mother. In the end, we didn't dare to visit her anymore. Now, Tong Kan Yen's sudden warmth clearly made my sister uncomfortable, but she couldn't seem to resist his sheer enthusiasm. His eyes were filled with joy upon meeting her. Sister, you must be exhausted after such a long flight. Are you tired? Let me give you a back rub. Saying this, he eagerly started massaging her back, constantly asking if she felt good. I knew you were coming back. So, I took a special massage class. My instructor taught me how to massage legs to help improve blood circulation. Now that you're back, can I massage them for you every day? I noticed my sister looked a bit embarrassed, but in the end, she happily accepted. This time, I kept my thoughts to myself. Let Tong Kan Yen enjoy his little victory. As the old saying goes, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. If I don't let them taste a little sweetness now, how will I ever push them to the absolute brink later? Soon, Tong Kan Yen successfully won over my sister. He used to be a bit insecure, but once my sister accepted him, he started strutting around like a peacock. He became incredibly lively around the house, which put my mother's mind at ease. Her child, the son she had worked so hard to groom for all these years, how could he be completely useless? How could he not even measure up? Me? So they began to pull out their big moves. Song Jingnian's 15th birthday was planned to be held 2 days before the Lunar New Year. So my mom arranged to throw a grand birthday party for Song Jingnian at our home. She invited all of our relatives and friends, which was practically the same as officially introducing him to everyone. My dad didn't agree. Right now, he didn't have a single shred of goodwill towards Song Jingnian. In fact, he was disgusted by him. After all, nobody willingly raises their wife's illegitimate child. To avoid tipping them off, my dad held his tongue. But he did not take part in any of the preparations for Song Jingnian's birthday and left it all to my mother. Out of sight, out of mind. My mother, of course, was more than happy to do it. She poured all her heart and soul into this birthday party. So, on the actual day of his birthday, our house was packed with people. My mother had invited almost every single relative and important friend to celebrate Song Jingnian's birthday. The massive villa became incredibly lively. Song Jingnian was wearing a very handsome white suit. Walking next to my mother, she kept enthusiastically introducing him to everyone. My dad couldn't stand it, so he made an excuse and went to his room. My second sister didn't come downstairs at all, claiming she had to study. Only my eldest sister, who, since the accident that left her disabled, had never attended a single party actually, showed up in the main hall for Song Jingnian. Jingnian walked around with my mother before coming over to me. At that time, I was eating alone in the dessert corner. He smirked and said smugly, "This suit I'm wearing was a gift from eldest sister." I heard that. "It's so expensive. I love it so much. Do you think it looks good, bro?" Tong Kan Yen spun around a few times, right in front of me, deliberately showing off in my face. It was the exact same way in my past life. He used this trick to provoke my hatred toward him, and then made himself look like a helpless victim with no one to turn to. In the past, I actually fell into his trap and ended up arguing very bitterly with him, making my entire family and even all the guests who came to the birthday party criticize me for being unreasonable. This time, I didn't even bother to care about him. I just casually said, "It's really beautiful. It suits you well. Are you jealous, bro?" Tong Kan Yen saw that I didn't fall into his trap, so he kept nudging. "Aren't you jealous?" I said generously. "In the past, eldest sister bought me so many outfits. For your birthday, she bought you one. What's there to be jealous of? I thought you would be upset. I heard before that you cling to eldest sister the most. Lately, she wanted me to adapt to this family better, so she's been spending a lot of time with me. I was worried you'd be unhappy. Luckily, you're not like that, so I must have misunderstood you. You're not that dependent on eldest sister after all." Just then, eldest sister happened to roll over in her wheelchair. Heaven knows what Tong Kan Yen had been saying to her over the last few days. Either way, she clearly had developed a desire to protect Tong Kan Yen. Seeing us alone together just now, she probably feared I would bully Tong Kan Yen, so she proactively came over. Tong Kan Yen, of course, had noticed her. He said those words on purpose, to let her hear. He simply wanted to tell her that my feelings for her weren't nearly as deep as his was. "Didn't Mom say you've just joined this family, so everyone needs to take extra care of you? Why on earth should I be as greedy and demanding as you, always trying to monopolize eldest sister all to yourself, house?" I gave him a bewildered look and asked him. My words left Tong Kan Yen a bit embarrassed, but only for a second. Right after that, he immediately thickened his skin and began turning things around to accuse me. "Is it because you're blaming me for taking big sister away from you? But you clearly just said you didn't mind." As he spoke, he immediately put on a deeply wronged look. Anyone who didn't know I had done something terrible to him. Seeing Tongkan Nian looking so heartbroken, big sister's voice sank slightly. What's going on? Oh, it's nothing, Tongkan Nian said, pitifully. I will definitely make sure to keep my distance in the future. Luke Hoai, please don't be angry, okay? I came to this family to be part of everyone, not to tear us apart. Even though this was the second time hearing it, I still couldn't help but burst out laughing. Just how thick-skinned did Tongkan Nian have to be to say something like that? The moment big sister turned her head back, he instantly hit his leg, then covered the tear in his trousers that exposed a bit of his thigh, looking completely devastated. He couldn't help but yell at me in confrontation. Luke, why? How could you treat me like this? The brief clash just now between me and Tongkan Nian had only been noticed by big sister, and perhaps my mother too. My mother had prepared very carefully for tonight. The exact moment Tongkan Nian let out that shout, everyone in the hall was drawn to look over. Tongkan Nian looked even more devastated. Looking utterly ashamed, big sister quickly took off the suit jacket she was wearing and handed it to Tongkan Nian. Tongkan Nian took it with a wronged expression, wrapping it tightly around his waist, looking like a frightened little deer that made everyone feel pity. What happened? My mother walked over at this moment. That bastard Tongkan Nian trembled in front of everyone, not daring to say a word. Luke Van Thon. What on earth happened? What on earth happened? My mother asked my oldest sister. My eldest sister spoke bluntly, not sparing my feelings one bit, and directly pinned all the blame right on me. Luke Hoai tore Kan Nian's pants. Luke Hoai, how could you treat your younger brother like that? Today is his birthday. Can't you just put aside your jealousy for once? For 15 years, he has never had a proper family birthday. Never had a proper family birthday? Then who did mom celebrate with every year? The family dog? By now, whispering had already begun to spread throughout the hall. Luke Hoai really is a spoiled brat. How could he humiliate Tongkan Nian in front of everyone like this? No matter what, now that Tongkan Nian has joined this family, he's one of their own. How can Luke Hoai be so overbearing? I heard that poor Tongkan Nian has had such a hard life. As everyone criticized me, I saw a smug, triumphant smile flashing in the eyes of my mother and Tong Kan Nian. They thought their scheme was about to succeed. Calmly, I began speaking to my eldest sister. No matter how I explain it now, it's useless. Even my favorite big sister thinks I intentionally stepped on Tongkan Nian's pants. I saw my eldest sister freeze. She was clearly confused. Why wasn't my mouth moving? Yet she could hear my voice. I continued, actually it doesn't matter if I'm framed. But I really don't want you, sis, to be kept in the dark by mom about everything. If you knew your legs were ruined because mom paid someone to run you over, would you be devastated? You love mom so much, after all. I don't want to see you heartbroken. My eldest sister, sitting in her wheelchair. I saw her face, suddenly pale with shock. Her hands gripped the armrest so hard, trembling with sheer rage. Tongkan Nian, standing very close to my eldest sister, he immediately sensed the shift in her emotions. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he could barely keep from smirking. He thought my sister was feeling indignant on his behalf, that she was furious with me. Tongkan Nian probably felt the time was ripe, so he quickly spoke up. Luke Hoai, if you really dislike me that much, then I will leave this house. Just being able to come here and enjoying this past month of happiness with mom, dad, my sisters, and you, my brother. I have already been so happy. I wouldn't dare ask for anything more, nor do I want to make you unhappy, Luke Hoai. If you're unhappy, then no matter how much I love this house, I won't be able to find any joy in it. These words, seemingly from the bottom of Tongkan Nian's heart, instantly moved everyone present. Our relatives and friends in the house started criticizing me, one after another, on his behalf. Seeing so many people taking his side, Tongkan Nian's confidence swelled. He urged everyone, please, don't make things hard for Luke Hoai. I don't want my brother to be sad. My presence in this house. He paused, looking slightly downcast, before continuing. After all, I was adopted. I never truly belonged to this family. Everyone, please don't blame Luke Hoai. If he doesn't like me, I should leave. I already brought you home, so you are part of this family. My mother's face was resolute. The guests chimed in, echoing Tongkan Nian. But I have nothing that belongs to this house. Tong Kan Yen painfully said, I have nothing. I've never contributed anything to in this family. How can you be so insecure, my child? My mother looked helplessly at him as he pleaded, Mom, please take me back to the orphanage tonight. That's where I truly belong. What do I have to do to prove it to you? You have a place and a status in this family. What more do you want me to do to make you feel it? Our entire family is welcoming you. My mother looked incredibly anxious, her face looking as though she desperately wanted to stay but couldn't think of a better way. She was as anxious as ants on a hot skillet. If I hadn't lived through this once before, I would have been completely fooled by her. It's a shame she didn't become because it's a total waste. For over 10 years, you put on such an act in the Luke family that we couldn't find a single flaw. She actually isn't my biological mother. My real mother passed away in an accident. When I was less than 1 year old, she was just a low-level manager in my father's company. After finding out my dad was a widower, she began to pursue my dad relentlessly. Before that, my dad didn't pay any attention to her at all because he was deeply devoted to my late mother, but he couldn't resist when she started approaching us first, me and my 2 older sisters. She treated us so well that my 2 sisters, my dad, and I were all fooled. I was 3 years old. I had a high fever. It was a very severe fever. After my biological mother passed away, Dad had to run the company all by himself. That day, there was an emergency at the company, and he couldn't leave. That night, she was the one who volunteered to take me to the hospital. By the time my dad finished handling the issue and rushed to the hospital, he saw her holding me, fast asleep on the hospital bed. For 2 whole years, my dad was finally touched by her. Even our relatives, including those on my biological mother's side, all advised my dad to accept her. My dad finally let his guard down. And so, they got married. When they wed, she even made a public vow, promising to love my dad for the rest of her life. She promised to take care of me and my sisters. She declared that she would only ever have 3 children, us, and she kept her word. For over 10 years, she never had any other children of her own. At one point, my dad even suggested having a child with her, wanting to give her a child of her own flesh and blood. But she refused, saying that those 3 children were her own flesh and blood. She was extremely satisfied. Seeing how steadfast my mother was, didn't force her anymore. But his love for her was clearly growing deeper day by day. Later on, my 2 older sisters and I all started calling her mother. To the outside world, my mother was a great woman. No one could have ever guessed that all of this was part of her wicked schemes and plots. The only reason she didn't have children with my dad was because she already had a son, with none other than her childhood sweetheart, and she didn't want any contact with my grandmother, just because of that child. From the very beginning, she wanted to tear my family apart. In my past life, she actually succeeded. She stole my dad's company and forced him to jump off a building. She left my eldest sister, who was crippled, to fend for herself abroad. She stood by and watched my second sister get ravaged by illness until she died. And then she personally pushed me off the rooftop to my death. Just then, someone in the hall suddenly shouted, "Isn't this very simple? Tong Kenyen doesn't feel safe in this house. Just give him that sense of security. Why don't you transfer your shares of the Luke Group to him right now? Once he has those shares, who would dare say he isn't part of the Luke family anymore?" The person who just spoke had already been bribed by my mother. "I can't take them. I won't take them." Tong Kenyen quickly refused, looking both understanding and deeply wrong. In my past life, this portion was given by my dad. Out of pity for Tong Kenyen, my dad gave him 10% of the shares, but back then, my dad only held 30% of the shares. After giving them to Tong Kenyen, he was left with only 20%. Of the remaining shares, 20% belonged to my eldest sister, 20% belonged to my mother, and 30% was scattered among outside shareholders. My mother took advantage of her own 20% and Tong Kenyen's 10%. Then, she secretly bought up shares from other shareholders. They plotted to force my sister to hand over 10% to become the largest shareholder of the Lu Group. This time, my dad wasn't around. I saw my mother fix her eyes on my eldest sister. She said, "Van Thon, I have never begged you for anything. You also know that the shares in my hands are just to help me have a better standing at the company, to ease the burden of work for your father. Now that you are temporarily recovering and not working, just hand over 10% to An Yen first. I will find a way to make it up to you later. She said it so nonchalantly, as if it was only she didn't even think my sister would refuse her. How could she refuse her anyway? Just now, because my eldest sister wanted to protect Tongkan Nian. She humiliated me, her handing over her shares to Tongkan Nian is the best lesson for me. She thought my sister couldn't refuse, but she didn't realize that my dad and second sister had already come downstairs. Uncle Ninggo must have informed them. My dad and second sister hurried down, worried that I'd be mistreated. So, at this very moment, everyone in the family heard my inner thoughts. If my eldest sister hands over her shares to Tongkan Nian, mother will get one step closer to stealing our family fortune. Actually, my sister's legs aren't untreatable. It's just that mother never cared to get her treated. She intentionally arranged those doctors abroad. How twisted. If they were to find out that mother did all of this just to marry her childhood sweetheart, would this family fall apart completely? I saw that everyone's gaze toward my mother had completely changed. My eldest sister was so furious she looked ready to explode. Right now, Tong Canyon was still trying to act reluctant, putting on a fake show in front of us. Big sister, Mom, I won't take them. How could I possibly take big sister's shares? Big sister, please don't listen to Mom. I wouldn't. He's so unreasonable. Saying this, he even reached out, trying to grab my oldest sister's arm. But the moment he touched her, there was a loud slap. He was a pathetic sight, pushed to the ground by my oldest sister, leaving everyone stunned. Even Song Jingyan was so shocked he forgot to cry out in pain. My mother was the first to react, her face filled with utter disbelief. Wanqing, what? What on earth are you doing? How could you treat Jingyan like that? Have you lost your mind? My oldest sister sneered, looking at our mother with eyes that wished they could shred her into 100 pieces. I quickly held my sister back, thinking to myself that since she didn't have any evidence against Mom yet, no one would ever believe her. Mom would only think that our whole family is ganging up on Song Jingnian. It wasn't worth ruining our family's reputation just because of Mom and Song Jingnian. Besides, we have surveillance cameras. We just need to check the footage to know right away if Song Jingnian is framing me. I could see my sister was struggling to control herself, while my mother kept nagging and complaining, saying that ever since the accident, my oldest sister's personality had changed. The others also thought my mother had a point and sided with her. Until my oldest sister ordered Uncle Wu to pull up the security camera footage from the lobby just now. As soon as Song Jingnian heard about the cameras, he instantly went into a panic. Terrified, he quickly looked at my mother. My mother also looked a bit flustered. She said, "Why are you pulling up the footage?" But my oldest sister didn't even spare her a glance. Furious, my mother barked, "No watching the cameras. I am the one who calls the shots in this house." But then, up, his commanding voice making both of them, with tense faces, they went to retrieve the camera footage. Seeing that things were beyond saving, Tong Kan-yen quickly scrambled to his feet. Since eldest sister doesn't welcome me, and the family doesn't welcome me either, then I'll just leave, all right? I'll just leave. Is that what you want? Before we prove my younger brother's innocence, no one is allowed to leave, my eldest sister barked out. Although her legs are currently paralyzed, she is, after all, a successor handpicked and trained by my father. Her natural aura is no less commanding than my father's. It was only the accident that made her temporarily lose her spark. Tong Nian didn't dare say another word. My mom wanted to speak up several times, but in the end she had to remain silent. The camera footage was pulled. Everyone could see it, plain as day. Tong Kan-yen had intentionally ripped his own pants, then cried thief while playing the victim to frame me. The tide instantly turned. Right now, even if Tong Kan wasn't cursed to death, no matter how thick-skinned he must feel utterly humiliated. "Take him away," my father said, not wanting to waste any more breath. "Want to see his face again?" "No, Dad. I won't go. I won't go." Tong Kanin broke down completely the moment he heard he had to leave. He had only recently moved into this luxury mansion, finally securing the status of the Lu family's young master. He couldn't accept this, nor was he willing to let it go. Over the years, my mother was so afraid of being exposed that she didn't dare give too much financial support to Tong Kan Nian and his real father. The luxury Tong Kan Nian enjoyed in our house was on a completely different level compared to life with his real father. "I'll never do it again. I will never, ever do it again, Dad. please, Dad. Give me one more chance, okay? Tong Kan wailed miserably. If everyone hadn't already seen his true colors, they might have been fooled by him yet again, all over again. My father didn't even bother to glance at him. Take him away. Don't let him dirty this house. Mom, Songjing, Nian pleaded with my mother again. Of course, my mother was no fool. She knew Songjing, Nian was utterly useless now. So she immediately, decisively cut all ties with him. I never expected you to be this kind of person. I was completely blind to your true nature. I am taking you away right now. Saying, on this, she turned back to my father. I really didn't expect him to be such a good actor. I will take him away right now, so please don't be mad. My father gave a cold scoff. Looking at my mother now was like watching a clown, putting on a show. She thought my father was just angry in the moment, so she didn't think much of it and quickly dragged Songjing Nian away. Although she deeply loved her childhood sweetheart and adored this biological son of theirs, she valued money far more. Otherwise, she wouldn't have abandoned her husband and child for wealth in the first place. Therefore, after Songjing Nian was kicked out this time, his days would be anything but pleasant. My mother would surely shift all the blame onto Songjing Nian. Of course, to my family, that didn't matter. What mattered was making sure she ended up completely penniless and received her well-deserved After my mother took Songjing Nian away, the first thing she did was stand before all the guests and apologize to our entire family. She acted extremely guilt-ridden, trying her best to look innocent. She claimed she had no idea Songjing Nian was that kind of person and that she was also deceived by him. Because she had treated him so well, her heart was deeply broken. My father merely pointed out that the person who suffered the most was Lu Hui. The poor boy was almost framed by Songjing Nian. My mother nodded vigorously, saying, Yes. It's all my fault that Lu Hui had to suffer. Mom is so sorry, sweetie. I promise, I will never be soft-hearted again or adopt another child ever again. You are my only son. I was about to scoff, but I held myself back. My dad said, if you've already caused hurt, a few words of comfort are just so insincere. You should make a more practical compensation. So, Lu Hui, tell Mom what you want. I will give you absolutely anything, she said with a face full of sincerity. Anything at all? I asked, acting innocent. Of course, dear. When has Mom ever broken her word? She thought she could do just like before, giving me a tiny piece of candy to win my heart back. I want the Loot Group shares that are in your hands, Mom. I blurted it straight out. I saw my mother's expression change instantly, right in front of me. After a long pause, she stammered, saying, But you're only 14. Shares aren't very practical for you. But just now, you said you'd give shares to Tong Kan, though. Am I really still not as important to you as Tong Kan? I asked, pretending to be hurt, as if throwing a casual remark. Could it be that Tong Kan is actually your biological son? This question instantly terrified my mother. How could that be? Don't talk nonsense. I only have one son, and that's you. Then why are you so willing to give Tong Kan shares, but you don't want to give my shares to me? Keeping them is to help your dad at the company. No need, Dad already said so. Just now, Van Thon agreed to go to the company and work. Look, Van Thon? No way. My mother didn't just disbelieve it. She was convinced that my eldest sister would remain depressed forever. As the eldest daughter in the family, I should shoulder the family responsibilities. My eldest sister spoke, each and every word, forcing my mother to grit her teeth. She was clearly still unwilling, could not find a single reason to refuse. Now, can you give me the yet, Mom? Just now, you said, will agree to anything I ask. After all, I stared at her expectantly. The grand hall was packed with so many people. Guests were all staring at her. If she refused, she herself would have no face left. She gritted her teeth. Right now, she didn't dare to turn against us. From her perspective, if she turned against us, she would only have this 20% share. But if she didn't turn, she still had a chance to turn the tables. She had spent so many years to get to this point, so how could she be willing to give up? She said, all right, and my mom could only grit her teeth and bear it. I asked joyfully, Mom, you plan to give all the shares you hold to me? Giving me 10% is enough. Just now, you said the share value for Tong Kan was also that same amount. My mother was calculating in her mind. Am I not more important than Tongkan Nien? I said with a hurt expression. My mother stood speechless for a long time, clearly unable to say a word, unwilling to give them. My father said, "Back then, when you took my shares, didn't you keep saying you wouldn't take them? In the end, they were all meant to be left to the children. Now, you're simply giving them to Lu Hoai early to make up for his hurt feelings, and yet, you're unhappy about it?" My mother was cornered by my father, unable to back down gracefully. With so many relatives and friends here, they were all watching. Whether she wanted to maintain her past image of a good woman or not depended entirely on her next decision. If she maintained that image, her plans over the last 10 years would go down the drain. But if she didn't maintain it, she would only have this 20%. She would never be satisfied. My father didn't rush her, giving my mother time to think. After all, he wasn't the one in a difficult position. Drops of sweat on my mother's forehead started to pour down. The people around began to whisper and gossip. After all, who doesn't have their own calculation? Yeah, right. What is she begging for? She just talked too big before, and now she's getting a bit of a slap in the face. If she really treated her stepchildren like her own, then why would she care so much about this tiny bit of shares? How selfish. Standing in front of so many people like this. My mother still couldn't bring herself to lose face. I saw deep in her eyes a flash of malice that disappeared in an instant. The next moment, she suddenly put on a very generous act. How could Mom not be happy? These shares. When Mom took them, I already said, they were just to keep safe for you kids. Mom is only considering whether to give Meng Jiao 10% or not. If Luke Van Thon and Luke Hoai already have shares, then Meng Jiao can't be left out. I don't need them, just give them to Luke Hoai. Luke Meng Jiao directly refused. Everyone knew her real motive. Her inner thought said that she thought my second sister, it was the easiest to control. The hard work my second sister is showing now is just an act, and won't even last a few days. Since Meng Jiao doesn't want them, Mom will give them to Luke Hoai. My mother took the opportunity to say, "Thank you, Mom." I happily accepted. My dad didn't waste a single second. He immediately called the company lawyer over to sign the transfer, papers right on the spot. My mother probably couldn't understand even if she died. She originally invited Tong Kan Nin over to lend her a hand, but ended up losing both the bait and the fish. She's probably regretting it to her very bones right now, isn't she? Of course. Family. This is still far from enough. In our past and life, she destroyed our family complete life. We must make her 1,000 times over, and then our family will heal. But we can clearly see my mother is starting to panic. Having lost her shares, she no longer has control over the company. My dad and eldest sister went back to work as usual. My eldest sister even made time for physical therapy. My second sister went crazy, working out at the gym and studying. As for me, I'm still spoiled by the whole family. My entire family was doing better and better. Things were getting brighter every day. But this was the exact opposite my mother wanted. Finally, that woman couldn't take it anymore. She used the excuse that a relative back in her hometown was having an emergency for a bit before she left. But that very night, she secretly rented a car and drove dozens of kilometers back to our villa. She waited until my entire family was fast asleep, then set a fire, wanting to burn down our villa. It was past 3 in the morning and everyone was asleep. None of the neighbors noticed a thing. By the time the property management spotted it, the flames had already engulfed the entire villa. It took the firefighters all night to completely put out the fire. The next day, my mother rushed back after receiving the news. The moment she arrived, she collapsed to her knees, wailing. Onlookers couldn't help but feel deeply sorry for her, coming up one by one to comfort her. My mother seemed completely oblivious, devastated, crying. If I had only known, I would never have left. If I had known, I would have stayed to die with my children. Now that you're all gone, what is the point of me living alone? Her acting was so flawless that no one noticed the smug, triumphant look deep in her eyes. Now that my whole family was dead, she was the sole heir. At that very moment, while she was secretly gloating, I stood behind her and called, "Mom." I saw her whole body shudder. She trembled as she turned around and saw our entire family standing there safe and sound behind her. She was so terrified that she collapsed right on the spot. You have all turned into ghosts? We are still very much alive, I said. Yesterday our whole family went on a beach trip and we just got back. You weren't at home. My mother instantly snapped. The sheer rage in her eyes could no longer be suppressed. She looked as if she wanted to murder us, right then and there. But I didn't bother to answer. Nah, pressed. Asking why our home ended like this? Mom's eyes began to shift, away. She was struggling to control herself. A few days ago, I heard there were stray cats, so I think I installed a few hidden cameras. Let me check. Saying this, I was about to take my phone out to check the security footage when my mother instantly panicked. She sprang up from the floor, snatched my phone, and frantically slammed it onto the ground. Everyone stared at her. Mom forced a smile and said, "As long as you kids are safe, that's all that matters. Nothing else is important. Family being gathered together in full is all that matters. Our family is indeed very complete. But you won't be in it anymore." My dad spoke up bluntly. "What? Honey, what are you talking about?" Mom was so panicked that she could no longer hide it. "Dad brought up the things you did. Aren't you the one who knows best? The evidence? I've already handed over to the police. Next, you had better prepare yourself to face the punishment of the law." "What are you saying? What on earth are you saying?" My mom lost her mind. She went crazy, but still refused to admit what she had done. "The video of you setting fire to the villa last night, I've already given it to the police. Look, they're already here." The moment Mom saw the police, she ran like mad, but how could she possibly outrun the police? In just a split second, she was pinned to the ground. Looking utterly miserable, she was dragged into the police car. She shrieked back at us, "How did you find out? How on earth did you catch me when I covered my tracks so perfectly? How could I get caught?" She couldn't understand where she had gone wrong. She couldn't accept that after years of silently enduring everything, it would end up bringing about her own ruin. Because her actions didn't cause any casualties, my mother was only sentenced to 10 years in prison. After she went, even when she was in prison, I still went to visit her. The moment she saw me, she got very emotional. She called out, "Lu Huai, you still love me, don't you? Once I get out of prison, I will take you to the amusement park to play. I will buy you so much delicious food." "I don't love you," I interrupted her. It was sickening. "Then why did you come here? You came to visit me because you couldn't bear to let me go, right?" "I came just to laugh at you." The corner of my mouth curled into a cruel smile. A smile like that should never have appeared on the face of a 15-year-old boy. My mother looked absolutely terrified. "You? Who are you? You're not Lu Huai? How can you not be him? I'm just not like what you imagined, that's all." I looked at her, my smile deepening. "Mother, you must really want to know why you calculated everything so carefully. Yet in the end, it all went down the drain, right? Why?" My mother got extremely agitated. "Because," I looked at her, gritting out every single word, "heaven punishes all evil doers. Otherwise, why would I be given the chance to be reborn?" Fortunately, my mother thought I was joking with her. She almost stood up to hit me, but the moment she moved, the prison guard pinned her back down. The pain made her soften her tone immediately and beg. Seeing her like this was truly so satisfying. I said, "Mother, we share the same blood. We still had a bond as mother and son once. Let me give you a gift." My mother looked at me, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. I slowly pronounced each word to tell her. "Song Jingran is not your biological son. When you gave birth, that beloved childhood sweetheart of yours swapped them. Your biological son is out there somewhere, suffering God knows where. Who would have thought that all these years, you've been raising someone else's child? My father wanted to have a child with you back then, but you refused. You really are both pitiful and pathetic. That's impossible. No way." My mother refused to believe it, but she was completely broken. Once she gets out of prison, she can find her own answers. It will probably be quite dramatic by then. Of course, that is no longer within the scope of my concern. In the end, how my mother will take her ruthless revenge or how she treats Song Jingnian cruelly, that is all her business. At most, I will just watch another joke unfold. I walked out of the prison. Looking at the clear and vast blue sky outside, I smiled peacefully. Next, I will fully enjoy the warmth of a family that I never got to enjoy in my past life. I sincerely wish that all the good things in this world will always be with us.